What's up, people? Night podcast.
Welcome to a very spooky episode of Eigenbros.
Unintentionally spooky.
Unintentionally spooky. We had to do an emergency podcast.
Yeah.
Because some news came out. Not because I accidentally deleted.
Not because it got up.
Not because I accidentally deleted the last one, but some very exciting news emerged. As the title will suggest, superconductivity at room temperature.
But first, of course, before we get into any of that,
Yeah, for sure.
guys, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And then also, guys, we have the Patreon, a 30-minute podcast on Patreon, so go check that out if you guys want to get that 30-minute extra podcast.
Yeah, more intimate view of us.
Yeah, we'll put the defunct podcast, because we still have the video on there, onto the Patreon. So if you want to see that, go ahead and sign up there. $1.
yeah, $1 a month. 50 cents for me, 50 cents for Terence.
That's right. That's all we need.
Yeah. Actually, pay $1.25 so Patreon can get their cut and we can get 50 cents. No, I'm kidding.
We just need like 100,000 people to do that, and we're good.
No, but thank you for those already that are our Patreon subscribers.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Shout out to them. And let's get started, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, superconductivity at room temperature, why is that a big deal?
Well, I'm trying to make sure I don't have anything in my teeth. Do I have anything in my teeth, Juan?
No, you don't.
It's a night podcast. We just ate.
Yeah. Post dinner, I might have the itis. So,
Yeah.
But why is superconductivity at room temperature a big deal?
So it is a big deal because, as I'm sure some of our, probably a good bit of our audience knows, with superconductors you can have zero resistance. I guess a zero resistance material, basically. Because with superconductors, basically what happens is there's some kind of critical temperature. Usually when you deal with like normal superconductors, you freeze them down in some kind of cryostat to like a few Kelvin.
Yeah.
And then what happens is it hits some critical temperature where it immediately switches to zero resistance.
Yeah.
So there's some weird phenomenon that happens called Cooper pairing, governed by BCS theory. Where you get this strange occurrence of basically electrons pairing up, and then they are just moving through the bulk of the lattice of the material unimpeded. So they basically have zero resistance.
Yeah.
So you can get these weird phenomena like persistent current, where the current just flows indefinitely, basically.
Yeah. And this is kind of interesting because It kind of flies at the face of classical theory, right? Like, because it's like
definitely does, because it's a quantum effect, I believe. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it flies in the face of classical theory because it also like recently they started proposing or exploring the limits, I should say, because we now find materials that can be, I guess you could say, exfoliated or like you can stack layers of an atomic material. And,
you're talking about with the graphene sheets and whatnot?
Like for instance, I guess like graphene, but there's also superconducting materials that can be exfoliated to a few layers and stuff. For instance, like iron selenide, that can be exfoliated down to a few layers, and you can actually have.
Did you work in the superconducting lab, Juan?
My group is. They also do study.
Oh, okay. I was like,
that's how I know about it.
I forgot that you did that.
Yeah, I did. I did that. I was trying to find a project, and this was one of the first projects that I had.
I see. So you actually were one of the exfoliators.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just forgot that I had some kind of experience in this.
That's what happens, right? You just jump around from all these groups in your early career, and you're like. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did do some of that stuff, huh?
I mean, I do know about superconductivity to a good enough degree, I think, to talk about it. But for instance, in this particular project, we were exploring basically the physics of superconductivity down to a few layers. Like, can these Cooper pairings survive at least the length of their I guess the pairing? Or the wave function, if it's on the order of basically the lattice parameters, what's going to happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen to the wave function?
You mean if the bulk material is on the like a like you shrink the bulk material down really small.
To a few layers, yeah. To the length, or to the order of magnitude of the Cooper pairs, the length that they pair it.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, it's been and I think that was actually tested recently, and they found out that it still survives even when the atomic layers are on the order.
And you mean this is in like the thickness of the atomic layers?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be like a sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if you imagine the Cooper pairs being like kind of like existing in three-dimensional space, how does the wave function look like when it's forced to be compacted to say two layers or one layer and stuff? Like what happens to the because like you're saying, it's a bulk phenomena where we've seen it in the bulk.
Yeah.
It just moves like nothing throughout.
Right. But I guess people are less familiar with it in 2D.
In few layers, in 2 dimensions.
Material or something. Okay.
And all that means is just like 2 dimensions is like X and Y, or like it can be as a sheet, like Terence
just mean it's getting thinner.
Yeah. So they've been exploring the limits of superconductivity recently, and I think they're still trying to figure out a unifying theory for superconductivity, because there isn't, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this one in particular, this new discovery, is actually 3 compounds, which is the first of its kind.
Ah, interesting.
So typically they were saying that the latest ones have been 2 compounds. Mm-hmm. So I think in a podcast 50, I believe it was, we talked about with Salvatore Pais and his superconducting material. We actually went into a little bit of superconductivity there.
Yeah,
and we were talking about hydrides or something being the next step. But this one was kind of an unexpected one because of this new 3 compound hydrogen carbon sulfide, I think, or sulfur material. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, oh, that's interesting, because they're going to have now this new structure to explore now.
Yeah.
So not only did it just hit with the first room temperature superconductor, technically, it also hit with a new kind of structure. So now there's even more research that can be done by other superconducting groups on what it's like to get 3 compound materials.
Yeah.
So I guess now the caveat to this whole thing, though, of course, just to make sure the audience is aware, is that all of this superconducting at room temperature has only been achieved at pressures that are on the order of the pressures that you see at the center of the Earth. So
it means it's hundreds of gigapascals, right?
I don't know if it's hundreds, but definitely in the gigapascal range for sure. Which is like insane. Like it was crushed between 2 diamonds. Like
usually diamond anvils or some kind of pressure cell. That's
These pressures are just godly insane, and nothing that you will ever see in any normal day. In everyday life. Yeah. So now the next step is now that the proof of concept's been achieved of room temperature superconductivity, now they need to start scaling back the pressures.
Well, that and also understanding like what, I mean that, you're right. This is why this is a breakthrough, because now they've reached 280 Kelvin or something.
Yeah, 15 degrees Celsius is what they say it is. So whatever that is, I forget the conversion.
Very close to room temperature. It wasn't exactly like around 300 Kelvin, but it was pretty darn close. Mm-hmm. And right now, I think what they need to do, or what physicists do well, is try to figure out like what makes this particularly special, or this system particularly special, that allows it to reach superconductivity. Now, I can sort of tell you why we go to higher pressures to achieve superconductivity. If I remember correctly, because this would be me recalling like 4 years worth of research from a long time ago. Not 4 years worth of research, but 4 years ago of research.
Yeah.
But
like
before I do
months
that,
of research.
but before I do that, do you know? I was going to ask you. Do you
what?
know like why we go to high pressures?
Well, I'm going to assume it's something to do with PV equals nRT. Oh no, it's not. Because higher pressures is higher temperature, right?
Yeah. It has to do with...
oh, no, higher pressures is higher temperature, yeah.
We'll get this. So it actually has to do with... you try to modify the bands, the electronic bands, from... By like basically having enough pressure in the system to where you get, I believe, a lot of bands, like electronic bands overlapping.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, because the electron now, because like for instance, I guess let me break it down to you this way for the audience. Let's just say you have two layers of a material, right?
Yeah.
And their interface, that interface is now is pretty much a boundary. It's a potential boundary because now, and let's say they're a different type of material stacked on top of each other. So now they have two different potentials, I guess you could say, right?
Okay. What do you mean by potentials?
Like lattice potentials. So the lattices might look different. And they might have different like interactions, like between the electrons pairing and the all that stuff with their crystal structure and everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Not exactly, but keep going.
I'm trying to paint a decent picture without getting too bogged down in the details. But you can just imagine that both of these two layers have different. Let's just say they have different crystal potentials, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like the Hamiltonian looks different for both.
Okay, sure.
I'm not saying it's the same. So the thing is, though, I believe that when you apply pressure to the system, you start basically compressing these two layers together enough to where now the orbitals of some of these electrons or whatever start overlapping. And some of the bands, like if you look at a band diagram of the entire system, I believe like you can have basically a merging of not superconductivity, but if you think about the Fermi energy, dude, this is getting too into.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay,
you might want to.
Let me step back from the edge a little bit because I'm like, I'm getting into really, really esoteric concepts that most people don't know about.
You also might get in trouble saying the wrong thing.
I know because I'm trying to I'm trying to like make it approachable, but then let's just say this. Let's just say that you have by going to higher pressures, you can basically turn a regular conductor into a superconductor by going to higher and higher pressures.
Okay.
Because you create you can cause bands to overlap into the conduction band, and then they can now become superconductive or whatever.
Okay. I'm not sure how that is, but I know from my understanding of the Cooper pairs is you can imagine that there's an electron in a lattice, right?
Yeah.
And then apparently what happens is that electron in the lattice is now attracting the positive ions of the lattice itself to where all those lattice ions surrounding it are actually pushed into or are attracted towards that electron on all sides.
Yeah.
So then what happens is you have like this kind of weird positive well of charge that attracts the other electrons, the other free electrons towards that.
Yeah.
And then those electrons are actually able to override their repulsion because of that attraction from the positive ions.
Yeah.
So I'm not really seeing how the pressures would help that.
The
I guess maybe it could put more positive ions around the electrons or something.
Well, BCS theory is one theory that can explain that aspect of it, but there's many.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is what I mean by the universal one, because there's so many different systems that don't correspond to, or that don't necessarily align with or don't give a whole picture of what can explain superconductivity in some of these bigger compounds, right?
I see. So it's like nuclear physics where they have like a bunch of different models to describe whatever they're interested in doing.
Yeah. And
there's not really a clear connection yet in how all those models align.
Yeah, because there's like type 2, type 3, then you have like d orbital superconductivity stuff. It's where the orbitals overlap, and then you can have it's a lot of it's a lot of different competing models, but I mean I would say that they're not necessarily competing for supremacy. They're trying to understand specific systems.
Yeah.
Right.
And probably trying to connect or
ideally
unify.
You want to unify them, but I don't know. I mean, because the idea is that if we unify them and we get a complete picture, then we can extrapolate, right?
Yeah.
We can go to we can say, then a material that looks like this,
right,
will give us room temperature superconductivity.
Right.
But
right now they're in the stages of just we know that these kind of materials have these superconducting properties, and let's just kind of extrapolate at a very close level
Yeah.
just these small changes so that we can push towards understanding this model better
Right.
and better.
Yeah, we really can't see that far ahead with superconductivity.
Yeah, we're still probing with the cane.
Yeah.
But it's definitely getting there, right? This
Yeah.
is a big milestone, so
It is.
definitely shout out to the team in New York. Diaz, I think the main guy's name is Rochester, New York, I want to say. So yeah,
They're doing it.
Do you think there's a Nobel Prize?
for that.
Yeah. Waiting.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, usually they
It
give
depends
them
on what else comes.
after that, right?
Yeah, because if
if
there's
it's
some real
huge-
shit that comes, then maybe not.
Yeah, because usually this is how they award Nobel Prizes. If it's groundbreaking, it's not enough that it's groundbreaking. It's like, do you build what is built on top of that?
Yeah.
Research. Yeah.
Like you need some real shit to get
Yeah.
Nobel Prizes for. And this one's like it's kind of like people saw it coming already a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it was like right there to be
Yeah.
discovered. But
Like
yeah, I
for
don't know. I feel like something could overtake it if it comes.
You think so?
Yeah, I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like it's
building on it. You're saying.
yeah, because we just gave the Nobel Prize to Penrose.
Right.
Good segue. In some sense, we got the Nobel Prize was split between Penrose and two other physicists. I don't
Yeah.
know their names, but since that's so recent, and then literally just like right after that, room temperature superconductivity. Room temperature superconductivity was discovered.
Yeah.
This is like the beginning of Nobel Prize year, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a
could
whole
very well be.
nother.
I think it's a year, right?
Yeah.
A whole year to get of discovery before they start handing out the next one. So
Well, they could very well. I mean, because I was thinking about a couple other really how they do this because I can only think of one example, and that's Nozolov and Geim, and that's like the guys who worked with graphene. Or who showed that graphene could be like easily exfoliable, you know what I'm saying? Like you can get a few atomic layers just by using like
With the
Scotch tape, yeah.
Yeah.
And that I mean, it's such a almost I mean, in retrospect, it's kind of such a trivial thing.
Yeah.
But it was
Maybe
so
it wasn't obvious.
but it was so groundbreaking. Like so much research was built on that finding
Yeah.
that they said we're going to give them. I believe they got they got the Nobel Prize for that. I believe.
Okay.
That
I'm
particular
not sure.
I believe.
Okay.
If not, they should.
Hopefully.
If
Hopefully
not,
for
they
our
should.
podcast's
It's
sake.
it's that impactful, I believe. But yeah, it's this has a lot of potential to be in the next 5 years, I guess, to be interesting. Because I mean, like it took almost 10 years to really see us exploring like exfoliable materials. But superconductivity is such a hunted. You know, we're
Yeah.
constantly like looking. and
Yeah,
probing.
there's kind of a good roadmap to keep looking for higher temperature superconductors.
Yeah.
There's been for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like people were able to predict what the next ones were going to be.
Yeah.
And this one kind of falls in line with that a little bit, but it's still kind of unconventional.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this also it's a great one because it also prompts so much more room for exploration now. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So for those of you that are trying to join research groups, looking to, I mean, yeah, doing superconductivity is probably a great avenue
Imagine
to do.
like the first year graduate student that like joined the group in that
What?
in that lab and like they stick him on the room temperature superconducting assignment and he gets
I mean, some of it,
he gets his name on a paper
on a very impactful paper.
Yeah.
Oh.
20th name on the acknowledgments. That'd still be nice.
I mean, yeah, that does happen sometimes. Where
Yeah,
it's your first year or second year, and you're lucky enough to like maybe help out with a measurement, and
Right.
you're like on the paper now, and then that's it.
It's beautiful. You'd be like, I was on a Nobel Prize winning paper. So
Yeah. Yeah. No.
What have you done?
Oh yeah. If you are that guy, please don't brag about it. That's just too.
Shit, I would.
I would just be no. Don't do it. It's cringe.
That's what makes it funny though.
It does. I just don't want to be on a flight, to an American Physical Society meeting, sitting next to that guy. And
Yeah,
just
I'd be
having
like,
to.
well, I did. I was on a Nobel Prize winning
I would
paper,
just-
so
I wouldn't like you.
I kind of know a thing or two.
I would not like you. You're like, okay.
You show them the paper. It's like this tiny little acknowledgement.
Yeah. No. I'm sure it's incredibly humbling. It would be an incredibly humbling experience to be around people who like work diligently to do that kind of stuff. Because I work with people who in my group we do study superconductivity as well, but that's not particularly my focus at the moment.
Yeah.
But I am still interested. Like I still help other group members, and we still discuss this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's still it's still heavily discussed and debated on the origins of this. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Oh, I was going to ask you, what the heck did what's his name? What did Penrose win it for?
So I was trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really understand what it was. So it was for black holes.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Penrose, so we're talking now about the Nobel Prize just recently in physics.
Yeah.
With Penrose, Roger Penrose, and then two other people, I think experimentalists.
Yeah.
And Penrose, I think he won it for some of his contributions to black holes. What exactly, I'm not sure. They do say that he gave it more of a mathematical, what would you say? He fleshed it out mathematically more so. I think he brought a lot more realism to black holes because the first, I think, of course, the Schwarzschild metric is how you can derive black holes from general relativity. And then I don't remember who did it, but someone who's a recognizable name, it could be Schwarzschild himself, I don't remember, actually derived the solution for black holes. And it was kind of like this, what would you say, this anomaly.
Yeah.
Or kind of like people were like not so convinced about it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, this could just be some weird infinities or something that, just doesn't, we don't know what this means in our theory. But then I think, along with others, Penrose helped to solidify that it actually was a legit thing. Stephen Hawking was a huge guy in black holes.
Yeah.
Susskind and Hawking had some battles with that. But yeah, apparently Penrose is one of these guys who helped flesh it out even further.
Yeah, it says here that the prize motivation was for the discovery that black hole formation is a robust prediction of the general theory of relativity.
Yeah. So I think he just made it really more solid. And I guess the experimentalists, I don't know what the experimentalists got it for.
Ooh, they
I kind of just saw
overshadowed.
Penrose and I was like, oh, Penrose finally got his dues. Because he's one of those guys who's like so prolific and so profound that you're like, this guy, he's so overdue for a Nobel Prize, right?
Yeah.
Like literally every physicist I've ever known has had his Road to Reality book, including me, who has no books.
Including me, who also has... No, I have a large
you have a
collection
lot of
books.
books.
but still, it's... Yeah, most physicists that I know also have Road to Reality, and it's a very... It's a book worth having in your nightstand or on your nightstand.
I got it before I was even in physics though, so I didn't understand shit. But I was like, this
it's
book
still
looks cool.
dense to read even as a physicist.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I knew there was no hope as soon as I bought it and read the first few pages. I was like, yeah,
you crack open the book. He throws up like some tensor notations. Or something. You're like, what the hell is this?
I was like, this is a fail.
So there are the other two physicists. By the way, I want to give them their due diligence because hats off to them. Reinhard Genzel. And also
you're probably fucking that all up.
Yeah, probably. And Andrea Ghez, so Ghez.
Okay.
And one half was awarded to Penrose, and then the other half is split between the other two. Mm-hmm. So that's like $1 million. So he gets $500,000, and they get $250,000 each. That's not bad.
What a slap.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, I would take $250,000.
Me too.
Right, because that's what they win.
Shit, I would take $250.
What do you really win? You do win. It's $1 million, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's $1 million and then some award, some little medal thing, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
Some little it's a little like a Olympic kind of medallion.
I thought is it a medallion?
I think so.
I thought it was like a Golden Globe Award kind of thing, where it's like.
I think it's a medallion because it's got the face of Nobel on it.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if it has a ribbon, but I'm pretty sure it's a circular kind of metal thing.
Yeah, the other two...
Because physicists aren't athletes, so they had to get the next... They wanted to feel a little bit more athletic.
Yeah, all the mental gymnastics they have to do to convince people that they're smart. We're not wasting your money. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke, everybody. The other half jointly is to Reinhard Genzel, well, like I said, and Andrea Ghez, for the discovery of supermassive compact object at the center of our
Milky
galaxy.
Way. That's right. Okay.
What?
At the center of the Milky Way, I remember now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did
It's a pretty big one, right?
What did they find? I mean, I don't know.
Well, they found that there was literally a black hole at the center of the Milky Way.
Oh,
that was
okay.
not common knowledge until like a few years ago, like several years ago. I think it was like
interesting.
probably a decade or so, maybe.
Yeah.
Because nobody said that in school. Do you remember ever in elementary school talking about the Milky Way had a black hole?
They
in the
didn't even
center?
talk about physics, bro. They didn't talk
That's
anything.
true. That's true.
But we at least knew the planets and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a pretty recent-ish discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it wasn't an obvious thing. It was just known.
I thought it was going to be something like, I'm not into astrophysics, but
Yeah.
I can see how that's
It's pretty big though, right?
Yeah, it's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a discovery in the universe that we're in, that there's a supermassive object.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it's a supermassive black hole
Yeah.
at the center.
Yeah.
At the center of galaxy.
Yes, we're fucked.
Interesting. We're screwed. So there is a timeline there's an expiration date to this experience.
There's so many expiration dates for humankind that we're just.
I mean, there's a laundry list.
Oh man.
We've got so much work to do
Yeah. Oh.
to be able to be four-dimensional hyper beings.
Wow. Okay. So hopefully hopefully I can look at that time and then think like, okay, we have this much time to escape this galaxy.
So you can procrastinate for a billion years and then start like, okay, we got to kick this in
We got to
gear.
get this in high gear, everybody. How do you do that? How do you do that? Live as a conscious being, knowing that
What?
there is an expiration to your like.
Well, because you can keep putting the thing is we can keep pushing the expiration date back, right? As long as we can keep making progress towards getting rid of the more immediate threats.
Okay.
Like the most immediate, of course, probably existentially is like climate change or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
Because if we don't get past that one, that's only like,
Probably
50
around
years.
a max of like 1,000 years or so.
Probably even less.
Yeah, actually, remember I got
Yeah, you
banned.
did get in an
I
argument with
got
someone.
blocked by Sabine Hassenfelder because I was.
Okay, this is
she
actually
completely misinterpreted my tweet.
this is actually a great moment to say. Do you want to say something to Sabine right now?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Sabine, I am not a climate denier. I was not being snarky in that tweet when I said, "Did you perform calculations for extrapolating what the
climate change timeline would be?"
Yeah.
I'm truly sorry if you took it that way, but
Yes.
I promise you, I am a physicist who believes in science. I'm not a crazy guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Skeptic.
I'm a skeptic, but
Well,
not for that.
Not
Not a climate skeptic.
TM, the trademark climate skeptic
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
And I'm not being snarky to you, so if you could please unblock me, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
And that's at Eigenbros. So
Yeah.
yeah. So like
Somebody cut that video so we can send that to
and
Sabine.
send it to her. Send
Yeah.
it to Sabine. Okay.
Yeah.
And then she blocks me like doubly for
Yeah.
spamming her with my audience.
She's like, I thought I blocked this guy. No, she doesn't know who you. She doesn't know who you.
No,
she doesn't
she has
see
no
your
idea who
face.
I
She
am.
doesn't know
Yeah.
how we look. So, but yeah. So
She gives zero fucks about who I am.
But yeah. Yeah. Climate change is probably the more pressing thing, unfortunately. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
anyway.
This is one existential threat at a time,
You're right. You're right.
Just gotta knock 'em out.
Yeah, but hopefully we get to for me, superconductivity, circling back to this, is a big deal because then that means, I think we've spoken about this, but it's almost worth reiterating because anytime you talk about superconductivity, at room temperature, the impacts of this are so, the way they scale is like almost phenomenally just absurd at how it'll change life for humans. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, now that you're saying that, I kind of am like at a little bit of a loss in thinking what are some good applications for
No, well, I was thinking like
room temperature superconductors.
Well, think about it this way: like now we can transmit power without losing.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
that's one of the main ones, right?
That's one of the big ones.
Because one of the big reasons why we lose power over long distances is
Yeah.
because it eventually the signal decays, right?
Yeah.
That's why you need amplifiers and repeaters and all these things. And if you have a persistent current
That never loses energy. That's so true.
now you don't have.
now you don't even need repeaters anymore.
Yeah. Now you
You have so much infrastructure you can save.
yeah, and heat, like you won't lose any energy to heat because I
Right,
mean
right.
we lose so much energy inefficiently through just heat. Like if you ever walk through a power or just walking outside by a power line and you just hear buzzing,
Yeah.
that's literally energy loss that you're hearing.
Right. Right.
Like that's like
True.
you're hearing an inefficient
Like next
process.
to like where you used to live with the power.
Power
lines
You
and
just hear
stuff.
the
Yeah.
bzzz.
Yeah.
Like any slight buzzing like that, that just means that you're hearing a lot of the energy escape as sound waves. And but
Inefficient.
in a superconducting room at room temperature material, that would be non-existent. That would be you would also get power so cheaply.
More cheaply for sure.
Well, yeah, okay, more cheaply.
I don't know how much cheaper. Though.
I would
I've never done the
argue
calculation.
it probably changed the world where having energy would be a non-factor almost.
You think?
Yeah.
I could see getting rid of a whole bunch of infrastructure that's now not necessary.
Yeah.
Because amplifiers wouldn't really be that necessary. But then I'm thinking like, there's things like fiber optics still that that would still probably be faster than something like a compared to like a what is it, superconducting wire or something, right? Because it's still electrons flowing.
Yeah.
Whereas like fiber is light, which is
Photons,
literally
yeah.
the fastest thing in the universe. So
You
I guess
probably still have
those would still
repeaters.
need. Yeah, those
You
would still
might.
need repeaters.
Yeah, yeah.
So like things like internet and stuff like that would still work off of fiber optic.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I guess like things in your house maybe. But then I don't think that's good enough.
No, I think the infrastructure, the city itself you will see huge savings in terms of energy costs, I'm saying.
Okay, you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And meaning reduce CO2 emissions, all this other stuff, all these other compounding net positive things that come out of this discovery. On top of
What are the things you think?
on top of now, it's like now you can get maybe like what is this like one of these few things you see when you're a young physicist and you're like, wow, levitation. Or
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Quantum
Oh,
levitation.
true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we forgot to even talk about the Meisner effect, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole Meisner effect when you see the classic.
People love to demo this one,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you freeze down the superconductor and then
Yeah.
put it on the little magnetic rail,
Exactly.
and then it's floating in midair like a UFO or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be so cool because then you could literally have a non-frozen, like you could have like a train using the Meisner effect or something. So what we're talking about here, guys, is that with superconductors, there's a property in superconductors where once it hits that critical temperature, all magnetic fields become repelled, or it repels all magnetic fields inside the material. So then what happens is one of these things called, I think it's called quantum pinning, I want to say,
Yeah.
where there's impurities that you can actually which you can actually purposefully place.
Right.
You know, like how we dope semiconductors.
Materials, yeah.
You can put purposeful impurities in this superconductor that are not superconducting, where when you put a magnetic field in through a superconductor, all the magnetic field gets repelled by the superconductor except for the part where the impurities are. So then it locks that object in space, in actual real space. So you can have levitating objects and things in magnetic field.
And we're talking,
magnetic
you're
fields.
literally saying in space, like X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah, in actual space.
Yeah. Because like you will, if you look at this demo on Google,
Just
Google
type in Meisner effect. It'll be the first thing to pop up.
Yeah, physicists will play around with this by just like putting it sideways or something,
Yeah.
and then pushing it, and it'll just
Right.
just keep going and going and going.
And then they try to blow your mind even more by flipping the rail over. And you
Yeah.
can see it go upside down even.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
locked into space literally because it's all the impurity. It's all the magnetic field is going through the impurities.
Yeah.
And basically it's surrounding the whole superconductor, and it just locks it in space.
yeah,
So it's cool.
yeah,
And yeah, you can actually have with a room temperature superconductor, you could have like a Meisner effect rail car or subway kind of thing.
So does that mean? Yeah, that means like now rail cars or whatever might be achievable in a way that's now cheaper, because now you can just to get it to go fast, you don't have to put as much energy into it, right?
I guess it could be because let's think how. But the thing is, how do they do it with
Magnetic rail cars already.
I mean, they
just
try
have
to
two
emulate
magnets.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They charge up the magnets. Well, they use electromagnets now. They charge up the magnets and then the coils like.
Yeah, I don't think they emulate the same thing though.
No. I'm saying sorry. That's probably badly worded.
Yeah.
I meant to say that they use magnetic levitation to get it going.
Right. But I guess it's electromagnets.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Meisner effect, you could use permanent magnets, but then those would probably be insane, like to get permanent magnets that size. I don't know how the process works, but I guess you could do it because I've seen neodymium magnets. Like Bob Lazar sells neodymium magnets that are like giant on his website.
I'm gonna bleep his name. I don't want to hear his name.
Yeah, he's a kook, but he does actually have a legit
business,
like a legit awesome
side hustle.
Like an awesome side hustle, like science store that has neodymium magnets. You can buy like uranium and all this cool stuff. So he's really playing up the UFO alien guy.
Right. No, but
maybe some element 115 even.
Yeah, get your T-shirt of element 115 here at the BobLazarStore.com. Yeah. Just actually, now that I just thought about this, if we do ever make merch, we should do a Nobel Prize chain.
Like a little ribbon,
a little chain
That'd be
ribbon
cool.
thing, like future Nobel Prize. I don't know,
like a little ribbon around your neck.
It'd be cute.
That's cool.
It would
That
be
is
cute.
cool.
It would be cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, it would impact transportation in that way meaningfully. But we also have something else that's also impacted by this, and you guessed it, quantum computing.
Oh, yeah. Because they're using superconducting qubits.
Look at the
I didn't
ripple.
even think about that.
Ripple effects, baby. They're just gonna.
Look at Juan going off. He's snapping over here.
But yeah, man, freaking that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm slapping the table right now for
That'd
those
be
of
cool.
you listening.
Yeah, because then that means that your quantum computer wouldn't have that stupid. Well, you can get rid of some of those components on that chandelier that they have, I guess. I don't know if those are superconducting qubits, but I think they are because they're super cooled, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah. Well, you would. Well, I guess you would still need to cool it, right?
You might because of those, the whole coherence time stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has something to do with it.
I'm sure because
I'm
you
too
need
ignorant of quantum.
because you need to
stuff.
energetically, I think, still isolate the system, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Try to.
I would hope that they can get rid of some components. We'd have to ask someone like, Olivia Lanes or Anna. Anna's a YouTuber who's a quantum computing specialist. We should get them on the podcast one time.
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Olivia Lane's also one of the quantum computing researchers out there.
Doing like a hangout with them would be cool.
Yeah,
Like a virtual one.
I've done one with Olivia and Dylan Berger in the past, but we should actually do one for a podcast or something.
Yeah,
one of these
for
days. Yeah, but I guess superconducting qubits would probably be affected as well. Not sure how though.
Yeah, I once I said it, I was like, wait a minute. I think they still need to.
Yeah, it's hard
cool
to
it
tell,
down.
right? We're too
I'm an outsider looking in.
Yeah,
but with very big anime eyes, like just wow, or whatever the hell that sound effect is. Yeah, that's me. But I'm saying, like, just to reiterate how important of a discovery.
Yeah, if it actually
this would
got
be.
down to normal atmospheric pressures, I think we'd see some giant changes and leaps. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would use them in cell phones too somehow.
Yeah, you wouldn't have. By that point, we would have. Well, I mean, I can't even imagine. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the
Well, I
discovery
mean,
is
it would
gonna
just
be huge.
reduce heating of components. Probably,
Could be
like-
significant though.
Yeah. Well, now your electronics become more efficient.
But the question is
because
how
you-
much more efficient.
Well, because you don't lose power to
Resistance.
resistance. Yeah.
Right, which is like a bunch of reasons why we have heating issues, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if that was like the main reason why cell phones even got hot.
I mean, yeah.
Because your persistent current can literally I think the number I read online is it can last 10 to the 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
100,000 years of
Jeez.
current.
That's insane.
Like imagine, because the cell phone already has so many tricks to reduce power usage.
Yeah.
If you can just keep the current flowing all the time, and then it just borrows a piece of it every now and then, like that
Then
could be the
you
way.
can have an
how-
all-day battery.
That could
no,
be
you
the
could have a
reason.
week-long battery.
That could be that could be the way that you can get these insane lifetimes on cell phones.
Yeah.
where you can have basically just a superconducting cell as your
Yeah.
battery, and then
Yeah.
the persistent current just runs whatever needs to run every now and then.
Yeah.
Because cell phones are already so good at like partitioning things in an efficient way.
Yeah, but that's through software. That's
Yeah.
not hardware. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
some
they're-
of it is hardware.
But if you had that combined with superconducting,
Oh.
superconducting battery or something,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that would be a big leap.
Yeah, that would. Man.
Don't know on paper yet because we haven't done calculations for it, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
Yeah.
These are our thoughts on what possibly could be.
Man. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, because that's impacting transportation,
Yeah, yeah.
communication.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even perhaps computing. You know,
Mhm.
this is one of those fields that it's like
That could be the answer to battery stuff too.
in what sense?
Because the thing is, the whole property that we can get persistent currents,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically storing electricity
Mm-hmm.
indefinitely.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it's like how much electricity is the question.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how much battery. I don't know too much about battery tech, but
Yeah,
I know it has to do more with energy density. So
Yeah. So it's,
who knows?
but maybe there's some kind of synergy you can have with batteries or something.
Maybe so. Maybe there'd be like a hybrid pack or a hybrid system or something. I'd have
Yeah,
to
not
investigate that. I'd have to investigate that. That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Um,
Where maybe you can have it hooked up to a circuit and it just bleeds off current every now and then
yeah.
in an efficient way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get real clever and creative.
In 200 years, we will return, or our generation will. The generation will now realize how it is to go a whole week without ever charging your phone. You know, what I
Right,
mean?
that would be great.
Back in the old days when you had flip phones. you know what I
Right.
mean?
The
Like,
Nokia days.
the Nokia, the keypad days where
Yeah.
you could just leave your phone,
Right.
and then 2 weeks later you're like, oh, I have 2 text messages,
Right.
and my phone is at 80% battery.
Right. Gen Z, they don't know yet. They don't know the feeling.
Yeah, they don't know the feeling yet, but yeah, what an amazing
Yeah.
Piece of technology, future technology.
yeah, but I guess I mean, is there anything else you think you could see the impacts of, like technology wise? Yeah.
Specifically?
I mean, that's my limited scope of
Yeah, me too.
it.
Unfortunately, since this is an emergency podcast, I didn't get to do as much research as I would have liked.
No, we're fine. I
But
think.
yeah, I think, of course, I'm sure there are some superconducting experts who might watch this podcast and they're cringing to hell.
And the first 5 minutes, they're like, "What the hell
They're
did
like,
he just
what
say?
what are they talking about?
Why is he talking? Why is he invoking band theory?
Right.
Why is he doing this?" Yeah.
So apologies to any of you superconducting experts out there. I'm sure we'll get on your nerves. But, but for the laymen and the physicists like us who are
Yeah.
not so attached to superconducting, this is mostly like conjecture and just what could be.
Yeah.
Of course, if you really know the intricacies, you'll know very well what's not possible and what is possible. But even then, experts are wrong all the time about shit. So,
Yeah. True.
they say one thing might be impossible. But then again, things like this that are so close, I think they're usually right in the short term.
So also, here's a good business opportunity
Yeah.
for those people who want to be entrepreneurs. Look at the materials right now that are being investigated. Well, because they're using
to invest.
yeah.
Mm.
Here's a business opportunity,
true.
folks. Think about that.
This is why I like to do investing on technology stuff only. Because I'm like, I understand technology and I can kind of predict where it's going.
Yeah.
But of course, my investing skills are not good.
Well, I mean,
That's the problem I think with most physicists is we know where things are going and we know the leading edge of stuff, but
yeah.
like actually translating that into money is the problem.
Well, I mean, you can invest in raw materials. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't even know how to do that.
Let's say 20 years ago, not even 10 years ago, if you invested in helium, in some helium company, you'd be a millionaire right now.
Right.
Because liquid helium is so
But you have to know the right companies too, because the wrong companies will fold. So you
sure,
either
but they
gotta
get bought out.
partition
But they
your-
get bought out by the big bulls.
True.
So
You're probably right.
Yeah,
Oh, so you probably score anyway.
I thought about this.
The one that I was thinking is I need to invest in is the LiDAR people.
What are the LiDAR people?
The LiDAR are the people who do stuff with self-driving
Oh, I
vehicles.
thought that was a Pokemon.
Because that's going to snap when
Uh-huh.
when self-driving vehicles become a mainstream thing, which is definitely going to happen. It's like a guarantee in my future.
But is LiDAR a trademark thing?
No, LiDAR is like a laser, basically.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, that's not what it actually is. I'm just saying the acronym is like.
It's like laser.
Yeah,
light
it's like
amplification.
laser. It's not a brand.
Okay, light amplification, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
But there are LiDAR companies. There's a couple LiDAR companies out there. There's a big one, I forget the name, that do kind of a bunch of the stuff within the self-driving vehicle sector.
Ah, okay.
So
Terence is now giving stock tips.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess so am I.
do not hold me responsible if you lose all your money.
Yeah, this is not an investment.
Yeah, this is not an investing podcast platform, so we don't know shit about.
Well, actually, I do. Well, I like to say that all the businesses that I said were going to be big are big.
Like what?
Like,
give examples.
Like Tesla. Back in the day, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Tesla's going to make it big."
Yeah, I
And
wish I would have.
I was telling all my friends this company's going to be making so much money. I was also
you knew because of Elon. Elon for sure was the.
Well, I mean, because
reason
if
behind that.
you're making rockets.
yeah.
I knew it was going to be just because of Elon. 'Cause
Yeah.
he knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's a physicist and he studied economics. Okay,
Yeah.
this guy, I feel like he knows what he's talking
Potential.
about. Yeah.
Although if you're a physicist, usually I would not want to invest in your business unless you're a physicist who's
What?
good at
Actually putting things in action.
Oh, okay, I see.
because the archetype of the physicist is typically not the
The doer, let's say.
Okay, all
or
right.
at least not the company builder. More of the
Right.
theory or coming up with the idea.
Yeah,
Elon's a rare breed.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the other one is Netflix.
Netflix?
Yeah. Because back in my day, we had to go to the store to get a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you had to,
Blockbuster.
you went to. I was like, this is, and you also had, back when Netflix mailed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? In 2007, Netflix partnered up with Microsoft. Why are we turning into? Why did we just? I'm just thinking.
Who cares? Conversation, man.
All right, but for those of you still checked in to this, my credentials as a financial analyst, back then Microsoft teamed up with Netflix and they said they were going to stream movies now.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, oh wow, this is the future.
Yep.
And sure enough, I told all my friends. They had like 2 shows
Whatever
on
helps
there.
you get to a rule to learn is whatever allows people to be lazier. Invest in that thing.
yeah, exactly.
People always want to be lazier.
Yeah.
And we've learned now, even the cost of like
Privacy, everything. Like, people
Yeah.
want to be lazier.
Yeah.
at all costs.
Yeah. I mean, even at the detriment of like, even if I only had 2 shows to watch,
Yeah.
that would mean I'd watch the hell out of those 2 shows.
Yeah.
Heroes and, I don't know, some Barbie show or something. I don't know. But I just,
Damn, that's desperate.
I just didn't want to leave the house.
Always invest in the lazy technology.
Yeah. So, because I mean, in some ways, Tesla, you don't have to pump gas.
Yeah,
Some
that's
ways it's
great.
pretty lazy.
Yeah, I would.
100% get a Tesla if I could actually afford one. I would get one right now if I can afford one.
Yeah.
That would definitely be my first vehicle of choice.
That's going to be our first Patreon goal. Me and Terence share split
And
custody.
Eigenbros, we just got a blue Tesla with our logo.
Split custody between us.
Dude, that'd be great. I would love
the
that.
Eigenmobile.
We gotta spam MKBHD to buy us a Tesla.
Oh, do you think you would?
No, but it'd be worth a shot.
Yeah.
Because you know how he's the guy who always buys Teslas and does videos.
Yeah.
Because he rates all the tech stuff.
Yeah. What's up, guys? MKBHE here.
Yeah.
I always love how he does those intros.
So we got to get Marcus Brownlee to sponsor us with a Tesla, a blue Tesla.
That'd be amazing. Or you guys can also help us do that.
They're poor graduate students too. You guys are probably all poor grad students.
True. Yeah, but that's some investing ideas. Just for those of you that want to test the waters, invest in research materials like see where the wind is going with this superconducting materials. Look at those components and be like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go buy some stock in Alpha ASAR and their specific. Or I'm gonna go invest money into a I don't know. What was one of the elements in this material?
Hydrogen, carbon, and sulfur.
Okay, maybe you invest in a sulfur mine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Put some
Stinky.
10%. You know, or why don't you just buy a whole damn sulfur mine?
You know, I've actually kind of had that as a thought where I wanted to just
Like invest in a mine or make a mine.
Do it.
I feel like that'd be really fun.
Yeah, of course. Just that'd be the funniest thing too to have.
That'd be so cool to do.
Just a random. Yeah, I own a sulfur mine.
Yeah, people are like, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Or like some kind of mine.
Yeah, that instantly makes you more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
It just reminds me of all the like old Age of Empire games and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can do this. I played Age of Empires. I played, what is it?
Yeah.
What's the other ones? I forget the name.
yeah, like
Cossacks was one I played.
Civilization.
Civilization.
Yeah, for sure.
StarCraft. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm ready.
Yeah, this is prime. Yeah, video games trained me for real life.
Yeah, I can definitely buy a mine.
Yeah, I would do it. I would own a chicken farm. Damn it, if I could.
That'd be funny.
Chickens are just funny creatures.
Yeah, they are. I mean, and also just me putting on my CV chicken farmer. You know what I'm saying? That instantly makes you more interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so
Now that the podcast's gone off the rails.
anyway, I guess that's a good way to end it. For those of you folks still here, I guess leave us a comment. What do you? Is there anything else you can think of that's like going to impact? Superconductivity will impact?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, or just even your thoughts on the superconductivity stuff, or maybe even the Penrose stuff.
True.
If you know any other stuff about his black hole stuff, 'cause I think I even looked up his papers, and I didn't really see anything really like that stood out to me on what the black hole stuff was for. I think he had like a couple papers written about black holes. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
but I didn't see what it was. So yeah, Penrose, superconductors. Leave some comments related to them.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Share.
Share,
Yep.
for sure. Not the singer, the actual action of sharing. And then
Boo.
follow us on at Eigenbros on Twitter.
Yep. Eigenbros on Instagram. Eigenbros on TikTok.
TikTok is
or
sticking
Eigenbros
around.
2.
Eigenbros 2 on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok's still alive.
It's going to be around. I
Trump's
think.
allowing it to live so far.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if he's... Yeah. And then...
Big business.
Yeah. And Patreon as well.
Yeah, guys, make sure to check out our Patreon if you
Yeah.
want an extra 30-minute podcast. We're going to throw the defunct podcast
Yeah.
on there.
Sorry.
Pay $1 if you want to see it. That's
Yeah.
all we need.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
See ya.